What's the point of ballet? Does it have a place in modern society? And can it overcome its elitist reputation? I sat down with the artistic directors of Ballet Cymru, Wales's native ballet company, and one of their dancers, Jethro Payne, to pick their brains about the past, present, and future of ballet.
The thought we have today, and most people have today, of ballet is fictional. It's been made up in the last 20 years, but it's put across as being very traditional, something that's been exactly the same for 200 years. 200 years ago, okay, when Sleeping Beauties, for instance, was created, or Swan Lake was created, it would be completely different to the one that you would see now the Royal Ballet doing. Their legs would be much higher, be much more physical, and there'd be much less diversity on stage. And yet that's sold to us as kind of a traditional production. And it's not, it's simply not. So there is that history of ballet, but that's been forgotten, kind of put under aside, and instead we get this kind of cod history of Swan Lake and Sleeping Beauty, and that's, people just think then that ballet is tutus and pretty girls and guys pouncing about, you know, that's the public perception of ballet. But it's so much deeper than that, so much more than that.
Ballet started in Western Europe in the 16th, 17th century. It was a courtly dance. So I think it was started in Italy. Then the French looked at it and thought, oh, that's quite interesting. Let's codify that. So the French kind of made it their own. It was still very much an elitist art form, but they were kind of appropriating it and making it French. And then later on in the 19th century, the Russians looked at what was happening with ballet in Western Europe and thought, that looks really interesting, we can make that our own as well.
But, you know, it survived the Russian Revolution. You know, if it was that elitist, it wouldn't have. They'd have got all the ballet dancers and shoved them in the river. It was something that was for the people in Russia. So, you know, it's not necessarily in all the areas of ballet an elitist art form, although it definitely has become in the last 20 years, I would say.
But I think that comes back to the fact that to engage in ballet, you know, it's kind of the wealthy people that can do that at the moment. It's a very expensive career to have.
In terms of opera house tickets prices, you know, I mean, straight away, if you can't be inspired as a young person to see things, then how, you know, you can't. You see the football on the TV, don't you? So you're inspired to be a footballer.
I mean, I come from a very working class background, and so did Dareth. I was fortunate to get a lot of scholarships. And so I think for me it's really about trying to show that it's, you know, talent in ballet doesn't only come from the affluent people in society, it comes from all walks of life. And I think what we try to do here is to try to capture those people as well and give them an opportunity to get involved in ballet.
Like we do in Wales, for example, ballet it can work with kids, it can work in schools, it can work with local communities, so you can have like adult ballet classes. Ballet can be accessible in that sense, and it can be opened up to different communities in different ways. And I think it is beginning to do that, and I think it is slow. So I think it's about diversifying the way we present ballet and use it as a community practice. I think that's really important.
So it's slow, it's going to be slow, but I think eventually the whole industry, unless it's going to become like a panto, yeah, it's getting that way, you know what I mean? We're going to see the ballet or we're going to see the panto, and it's exactly the same every year, and then it becomes like a panto. It's not an art form anymore, it's just something that you kind of get together and put on stage, and it's the same all the time. You know, and unless we don't want to go there, I don't think anybody wants to go there, so it has to evolve. We did a show at Theatre Clwyd in Mold a couple of years ago, and it was Romeo and Juliet. A lot of the kids came who'd never been in the theatre before, and we presented a Romeo and Juliet. It was one we choreographed with Welsh clog dancing in it, which was very, very different, but also it was a very diverse cast. We had a wheelchair dancer in there. Nobody said a word, which was brilliant, because all those people at the first time to see the ballet came to see ballet and went away with the idea that ballet is diverse and ballet is really accessible. And that's what we're trying to create. That kind of sums up what we're trying to do, is try to create a new audience that haven't got all those hang-ups and all those kind of preconceptions of ballet.
It needs to be moving with the times. I just
evolve.
I was going to say it needs to evolve.
And I think it takes individuals within the ballet world to do that, but it also means that the art form itself needs to look at itself and think, okay, are we doing the right thing? Are we actually reflecting the people that we engage with and the audiences that we engage with?
Well, I think we are trying that. I think we're trying to do that. We're trying to make it more accessible, more inclusive. It has to be inclusive. It's got to evolve. Having said that, I think it should evolve because it's a brilliant art form. I mean, we've downed it quite a lot. We've downed ballet quite a lot. But actually, it's a wonderful tool for creation, if you like.
I also think all the education work that surrounds ballet is really important because I think that informs new audiences and new people and new engagement where you know, historically ballet divides people. You're part of the class of society that does it or you're not. And I think that education work can really demystify who can dance, and anyone can dance, but yeah, it's giving them access and engagement and opportunity, I think, to engage in either as a watcher or a participant. So I think that sort of social responsibility that all ballet companies have or should have is really important. I love ballet. I love what we do. It's a beautiful art form. I want to put it out there. It is, we've dedicated our lives to it. We absolutely love it and adore it. We recognise the strengths. We recognise the challenges. We want to see it survive, which is why I think we are challenging certain stereotypes around it because it needs to keep evolving and existing because it's just so powerful, I think.
So I think that's what needs to happen in the tradition of classical ballet. It needs to keep evolving and keep changing to become a truly modern art form as well. And I think from an economic standpoint, that's how it will survive. You know, you will attract audiences and people to come engage with ballet, not just in a theatre setting, but in a studio, in classes, in whatever, because that's what keeps the art form alive.